I'm Gabriella St. George, and I'm the Food and Farm Business Coach and Trainer with the Food Business Resource Center at Business Impact Northwest. What I'll be doing today is working with everyone to facilitate this food infrastructure panel today. A little bit of background about the Food Business Resource Center. So the Food Business Resource Center is a program of Business Impact Northwest that provides resources, webinars, one-on-one coaching, training, and courses, and also access to networks and marketplace opportunities that are tailored to the needs of small food and farm businesses like maybe yourself. Our goal is to provide Washington food and farm small business owners like you with the resources and connections that you need to be successful. Thank you all for being here today, and welcome to our food infrastructure panel. So this morning, we will be having Hannah Kullberg, who is the Business Development Director for Community COPAC. We'll be having Yamila Sterling, the Program Manager at Solid Ground, and Emily Penna who's the program manager at Meals Partnership Coalition for the South Seattle Community Food Hub. We'll also be having Christina and Darren Marzov. They're both the owners of Falling River Meats and the USDA Meat Processing Project. We also have Linda Nunzig, who is the Agriculture Coordinator for the Snohomish County Conservation and Natural Resources, and also Matt Gurney, who's the Chief Innovation Officer at Fair Start, talking about the Kent Valley Food Entrepreneurship Center. And without further ado, I'll let Hannah Kullberg of Community COPAC take the floor and talk about her projects.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to start us off. This is my first time presenting with interpreters. So I'm going to do my best to speak slowly, which is not always something I'm amazing at. So flag me if I'm speaking too quickly. So I am a connector and catalyst in the food business ecosystem based out of Portland, Oregon, and I am the co-founder, co-creator of Community COPAC. We are a low barrier contract manufacturer focused on incubating and scaling BIPOC and women-led businesses. We are activating a community-oriented production facility that flips the narrative on co-packing experience and centers it on the maker. Through this work, we aim to foster a more equitable and inclusive consumer products industry. So in this work, we have been very focused on small and emerging entrepreneurs and how their barriers show up at the smallest scales. But I know there's a lot of farmers in this presentation. And so I just want to really call out our interest in talking to and exploring, working with farms and processing vegetables. I'm very fascinated by that. Our project is emergent, it's co-creative with our community. So please reach out if that's something of interest to you. I'll also point us all, because we are all learning together here, to a model that inspired my co-founder and I called Terroir in a Jar, that is located in California, and they work directly with contract manufacturing with farms down there. So today, Mariah asked me to share a little bit about our journey to get to launching this project. We're in our first year. This is Chris Bailey, my co-founder. He first seeded the idea for this founder-centered, community-centered contract manufacturer 3 years ago as a direct need that he was seeing out of his clients at the Portland Mercado. We are both founders and have experienced the barriers to contract manufacturing ourselves. And then we both were in these positions of serving, advising, supporting local food business entrepreneurs. And we continued to see, it's like when you learn a new word, right? We kept on seeing the barrier showing up over and over again. We're like, okay, we need to do something about this. So thanks to some data from the Oregon Department of Agriculture, very, very key in our grant writing process, we basically confirmed what we were hearing from our community, that food businesses needed low, minimum, flexible run contract manufacturers. You can see the big yellow bar, product runs that are less than 2,000 units. It was a really big deal to, to find this data for us. And then we then applied using this and our anecdotal data to Business Oregon and received a grant to launch the project. So I want to share some of the inspiration. This is Mathilde. She was a client of Chris at the Portland Mercado. She actually went through the Getting Your Recipe to Market program that I now teach in as well. And she has great local success. She's in local grocery store. There's an image of her actually preparing bulk concentrated syrup for a partnership with Salt and Straw. And as over the years, she was really ready, once she'd really built out her product market fit for a contract manufacturer. And there's actually a lot of contract manufacturers, right? Someone that will make the product for you. And I apologize that I didn't define that for everyone earlier, but there's a lot of these contract manufacturers that could support Mathilde in our ecosystem. Her barriers showed up more on the cultural side. She has English as a second language, and she experienced not getting calls back from local co-manufacturers, strange power dynamics, and just a general lack of transparency around proprietary information and a general feeling of not being respected. Other entrepreneurs we were talking with simply experienced a barrier to finding a contract manufacturer that would make their product and work with them on that scale up. They also experienced unequal power dynamics, my way or the highway approach to non-disclosure agreements and other legal documents. We also heard that those who actually made it to find a contract manufacturer were sort of at the mercy of their co-packing partners and often got rescheduled on or not communicated with clearly around changes to product, etc. We've also heard that entrepreneurs that have tried to switch their culturally specific products to a co-packer were told that they had to change their formulation altogether and move from more industrial ingredients like extracts. And that's one of the reasons we've taken a different approach. So while there's always changes with contract manufacturing in your product and scaling up, we're really trying to listen and be co-creative with the entrepreneurs we work with. These are some pictures from product development earlier this year. And some of the ways that we've taken a different approach is listening deeply, meeting clients where they are at, the flexible runs, as I mentioned before, an artisanal approach to culturally specific recipes. So working with fresh ingredients, roasting or toasting, not trying to over-industrialize the food. We are also doing a lot of transparency around the process and documentation, shared files, a lot of communication and explaining, and we're really finding our way through to mutually beneficial agreements for all of the agreements that we make. We are also, and in the process of developing our kitchen, this is our kitchen here, we basically decided which equipment, where we would be located, what we needed. Did we need a hood? Did we need ovens? This was based on the needs of a form that we asked entrepreneurs in our community to fill out. Over 90 completed it last year. Now it's at like 130, which is quite amazing and just proves the need for a model like this. So in reading those and sifting through and who we talked with, are like, okay, this person needs kettles, this person needs blending equipment. And we worked to use our grant funds to purchase equipment and identify a kitchen that met the needs of that community. We also work very closely in the test runs with our founders to discover how to scale up their products successfully while really staying true to them. This is Chris with Christopher and his mom Irene, who have a Filipino food product, pickled achara product, and it has a lot of really unique cuts. And so the test run was really fun, and that some of it we had to do by hand, but others were exploring, how to find the correct blades essentially to make the product both efficiently, but again, true to the roots. Finally, I just want to mention that we are located in community, and this is a really key part of the success and growing success of our product, our project, excuse me. We are in the Red, a food hub in downtown Southeast Portland that's located around all of the produce suppliers, which is really wonderful. And we are in close partnership with Beeline PX. They're a last mile delivery logistics company, but they're also our warehouse partners. And so a lot of the businesses we work with collaborate with them. So for the example of Mathilde, they fulfill Mathilde's product both directly to consumers and to the local grocery stores. So we'll make it for her and then pass it to Beeline. So that is what I will share. I have other things. If people have any questions later, I can dive into anything else, but I will leave it at that. So thank you.
And before we pass it on to Yamila, there was one question in the chat that maybe you can answer, Hannah. The question is, what is a co-pack, especially for farmers that are maybe out of the loop?
Yes, thank you. I have I have a slide on that I apologize I did not include in this presentation. A contract manufacturer, co-packer, it's an interchangeable word in the food industry, is a manufacturer, right? They're actually making a food on behalf of another business. It's very, very common in the food industry where the founders typically then become more of the sales and marketing and business development arm of their business. For a farmer, the models that I've seen are partnering with a packer to make jam, or say a fruit-based beverage or tomato-based sauces, something where they're processing that harvest for them, apple sauces, that kind of thing. I also think there's some really interesting opportunities in that pre or first processing of vegetables. So like dicing carrots or butternut squash or onions for food service or for use within other packaged foods, because they're in both of those industries, it's more typical to have and purchase semi or pre-processed vegetables. I hope that is helpful in answering, and I apologize I missed the slowdown message. Apologies to everyone.
That's super helpful. Thank you for clarifying, Hannah. And then if we have some more time at the end, we'll definitely ask some more questions to you as well around community co-pack and finding co-manufacturers and what businesses should be looking for. So next we have Yamila Sterling, who's the program manager at Solid Ground, and Emily Penna, who's the program manager at Meals Partnership Coalition. I'll let you both take the floor.
Hi, good morning. I'm Yamila Sterling, and I am the Food System Support Program Manager for Solid Ground, and I support the Seattle Food Committee that is comprised of 28 food banks and one backpack program in Seattle.
And my name is Emily Penna. I use she, her pronouns, and I work for Operation Sack Lunch as the program manager for the Meals Partnership Coalition, which is a collective of meal programs around the Seattle area.
Next. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to provide you a background of the South Seattle Community Food Hub and community and regional food access partners, such as the Meal Partnership Coalition, the Seattle Food Committee, Farmers Market Alliance, Food Lifeline, and King County are aligning efforts to strengthen local food systems, improve the capacity of the hunger relief sector, and thereby increase access to healthy, affordable food for underserved communities. In 2014, King County adopted the Local Food Initiative, which is a roadmap for reinforcing and enhancing local food systems across the King County region. The creation of a food hub in South Seattle has been identified, if you see below, as a strategy to strengthen local food systems throughout the region. The building adjacent to Food Lifeline in the South Park neighborhood has been identified as the ideal space for this project. Currently, the space is 80,000 square feet, and we will be assessing how much of the space will be utilized. This space, ideally, the reason why this space is ideal because it's close to major highways, and it's also it's next to Food Lifeline, which is a service that a lot of the hunger relief organizations utilize. Next.
So previous feasibility studies showed what food systems challenges currently exist, as well as determined the three main challenges that our group of key stakeholders could best address. So the first challenge was the diversity of food organizations and farm businesses complicates the coordination of their activities and the exploration of creative partnerships. So our proposed solution with this facility is being able to increase that capacity, resiliency, and collaboration, specifically between hunger relief agencies across the region throughout a shared infrastructure. The second challenge identified was insufficient aggregation, processing, storage, and kitchen space to connect the local food producers adequately and efficiently with target distribution channels such as food access organizations and other institutions. Our proposed solution is to expand that infrastructure for regional growers to increase the quantity of locally grown foods used by the hunger relief sector, and as well to facilitate market access to other institutions such as schools or hospitals. And then the third challenge was that BIPOC, immigrant and refugee-led and serving farms and community-based organizations disproportionately experience challenges accessing infrastructure and resources to serve their stakeholders, who are also disproportionately experiencing the impacts of hunger and food insecurity. We plan to promote and support a more local, just and sustainable food economy by prioritizing food hub resources, services, and infrastructure to BIPOC, immigrant, and refugee-led and serving growers and community-based organizations that have not traditionally had access to that infrastructure. Additionally, there will be workforce development opportunities that can expose individuals to different kinds of roles within the food system. Next.
So we are working with a consulting firm, FoodWorks Group, to evaluate this project. They will be delivering shared governance recommendations, a facility design plan, and business and financing plan. This body of work will inform the subsequent planning and actions taken by the advisory council and will inform the development of a community food hub. Next.
So we have developed an advisory committee that will inform the work throughout this feasibility study phase. The advisory committee includes people from rural and urban agriculture sectors, government, emergency feeding nonprofits, community-based organizations, and potential end users of the product, including those institutions, as well as those with lived experience of food insecurity. The advisory committee will support the feasibility study process, partnering with FoodWorks Group, as well as transition the project to its future phases by facilitating the implementation of a shared governance body and other groups or subcommittees the project requires, such as fundraising or construction. Next.
And as you can see, this is a tentative timeline of the overall project, and is broken down in 8 phases or 8 milestones. And one is the feasibility study that Emily just mentioned. Also is the advisory committee, which is going to be informing the shared governance, the operating models, and the project fundraising and financing options. And also is going to be, while we're doing that, there's going to be a phase that's going to be the pre-construction and the construction of the facility. These 2 phases, or actually, I'm sorry, these 4 phases between the feasibility study at the advisory committee, and the development of the shared governance and fundraising and financing and construction is going to be happening in the next 2 years. We are hoping to launch this food hub or this operation in the beginning of 2024. Currently, currently we are on schedule. We already have identified the consultant firm who's going to provide the feasibility study, and we are currently finalizing the advisory committee. Next.
If you'd like to learn more or stay connected, we'd love to hear from you. So we have a link to sign up for our mailing list to receive updates about the project. And if you want to get involved, we also want to hear from you. So please get in touch. And we are really hoping to collaborate and coordinate regionally on the development of other food hub projects so that we can develop a complementary system. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I don't see any questions in the Q&A currently, though if there are any questions that pop up over the course of the rest of the panel, we'll have the questions directed to you. And for those of you that are attending the session, if you'd like to be able to learn more about the project and be able to sign up for those notifications, the link has been dropped into the chat, so you can sign up now as well. Next, we have Christina and Darren Marzoff. They're both the owners of Falling River Meats, and they'll be talking about the USDA meat processing project. I'll let you both take the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, so we run and operate Marzoff Meats, which at this time is a WSDA custom exempt slaughter and processing. We applied for a grant from the USDA to upgrade our existing facility to USDA standards and intend to be operational by next year doing cut and wrap USDA. In addition to that, there's some other grants coming out that we intend to apply for to get what is much needed to even start the process of selling by the cut is USDA slaughter, and our intention is to have that located on our new property, which we just recently purchased in Snohomish, which is my husband Darren's father's butcher shop. So our intention is to be a full-scale USDA slaughter and cut and wrap by next year. So it's kind of a quick timeline. One of the greatest things that I think that we are doing to be more equitable in this industry is innovating new ways of doing this by lowering the amount of costs to enter into this field with developing new equipment for slaughter and processing. You know, that is going to change the game for a lot of small communities, and our hope is to be able to pass what we are learning now to more people. Yeah, do you have anything else to add? I'm sorry, I have kids coming in and out, and so I got a little bit distracted. I apologize for not being better prepared. You know, one of the hardest things about this industry is that it's a common misconception that meat is cheap. It's certainly not cheap to grow, and it's not cheap to process, and it's not cheap to distribute. And so one of the things that we try to do with our custom exempt farmers is encourage them to charge a fair price for that hard work that they put into it. And that will also be translated into when we start doing USDA, we're all just going to have to accept that there is a true cost to this hard work, and we're all going to have to participate in making it a viable industry for those who, you know, are interested in joining it. Because at this time, we don't have a lot of people in the wings wanting to participate to do this hard work. So, you know, that's going to translate into higher wages for our employees, let's say, and benefits, so we can compete with grocery stores to get people to stay in the industry. So yeah, I guess I'm really jumping around. I apologize.
And I'll say I'm a fourth generation butcher, and I'm really just disappointed in my trade. You know, when my dad and my uncles graduated high school, meat cutting was the highest paid trade in the industry, in all the trades, and now it's the lowest paid. And you know, so we can only do what we can do, and it's been such a challenge, especially in this area, to try to pay our employees a fair wage so that they can buy a home in this area. And you know, we're doing our best to try to do that and maintain a workforce and to get a team that can help our local farmers. But you know, you can't do this job remote. You have to be at a butcher block, and it takes time and training. And this trade is a very steep learning curve. You have to cut yourself 10,000 times before.
And a dangerous one.
Yeah, Christina cut herself last week. You got to cut yourself a lot to get good at this, and it's a challenge to find a person in their 20s that wants to really take on years of training. So not only has moving to USDA become something needed, it's essential for our business. The next developing aspects of our business will require USDA. And with that, I'll be able to start a classroom forum to where Christina and I can train and get a new group of people in this industry. And having the USDA there, having it in one place, having animals coming to us, we hope to be, all the local farmers, we hope to be their best customer, because once we're up and running, we're going to be able to get local meats in local stores and grocery stores. That's really what's driving us. And it will have a ripple effect in the sense that we can train and you know, show off our local farmers, support our local farmers, get them real money. I mean, if the farmers go, we're next. And so we're trying to really maintain the level of agriculture that we have, and then build onto it, build the future for, you know, our kids and the communities and the different groups that need us. It's an important part of food, and I'm always really sensitive to all farmers and how they make a living, but I'm really trying to help the livestock farmers in this area, because if we don't try to support them, the last thing they got is their land, and they're going to sell it, and then we're going to be like everybody else, just houses and you know, the major food systems. That's all that's going to be left.
Oh, hold on, guys. We have someone at the door. I think that's Greg.
Okay.
So anyways, can you go get it?
Yeah.
Anyways, one of the things that, you know, our intention is to do is also start developing some partnerships with people who are already operational in the wholesale markets, so that we can develop a brand or help farmers who intend to grow their herds and want to get into restaurants and other wholesale account style ways of selling their meats. And so we're developing those. We have for Falling River Meats, which is our retail line, we are opening a storefront in North Bend coming up here. We're hoping May is going to be our opening. And we're going to do exclusively local meats. And so all of those things are just to support the people that we think do the best job growing it, as our local farmers. So yeah, we're busy little bees. You know, we've got a retail pet food line that we do corn dogs and hot dogs that we sell at farmers markets. We have our retail meats that we sell online. And soon at our storefronts, and then our USDA and custom exempt processing. So a lot of chances to engage with community and hopefully develop a strong workforce going forward.
You both have so much amazing work happening, and I don't know if you've looked over at the chat,
I
but
know, I was like, whoa.
there is a lot of really encouraging and a lot of encouraging words and a lot of kudos to you in the work that you're doing, because you're absolutely right, especially in the meat processing field. It's definitely difficult. There's a lot of hurdles, and being able to support our local livestock industry is so important, not only for ourselves, for our foods that we're eating, but also just for our land as well, in terms of a sustainability point of view. So kudos, huge kudos from everybody for the work that you're doing. There were two questions, if you wouldn't mind quickly answering before we pass it on, but there was one question asking if you will be offering mobile slaughter services in the future.
So we do offer mobile slaughter service for WSDA custom exempt. But the hard part about USDA mobile slaughter is there are very specific requirements that are necessary, and an inspector needs to be on site. And so there's a lot more hurdles that go into that. So theoretically, what we have built is a mobile slaughter unit and could be transported. What that means is that if we were to do that, the farmer would have to put in a substantial amount of infrastructure to house that unit and fill that unit for us to make it financially feasible to come out in that sense. We still have work to do on that potential mobile slaughter unit, but that is kind of the innovation that we're looking for, because the cost entrance of like what exists now for mobile slaughter units is over $100,000, which for a lot of communities would be too much. And so what we have developed is hopefully going to make that a fraction of the cost. And then we would be able to package that up and give the schematics to whoever wanted to build it. And they would be able to do it for their communities and themselves, is the hope. And just to, you know, make that more available.
Yeah, absolutely.
The HACCP and everything that it takes to run it.
Right.
Just all a sewn up package.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built out first. And again, kudos to you guys for building that out and just trying to make it a little bit more equitable in our area. The other question that we had was, it says, thank you, Christina and Darren. Out of curiosity, will you plan to employ any crews doing culturally specific slaughter, aka like halal and kosher?
Right. So at this time, no, once we get it up and running, I could foresee a future where somebody would come and be able to perform that as like their own service. And then, you know, if they wanted to take it to an actual halal cut and wrap, they could. If they wanted to have us cut it, that's also fine. So it's an option. It hasn't been a part of our business plan. And we'd have to develop the HACCP to accommodate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then going back to your, oh, okay, it looks like it, okay, never mind. There was a question in the chat that had gone away asking about the name of your brand.
Right, so our retail line is Falling River Meats, and then our USDA and custom exempt processing will just be Marzoff Meats. And then we have Valley Dogs for our corn dogs and hot dogs, and Porter's Pride for our pet food line.
Awesome. How cool. Well, thank you both so much for being here today and talking about what you're working on. It seems like there will be a fair amount of contact to you guys after, just based off of
we're hiring, so anybody looking for something.
Wonderful. So I'll pass it over, just for time's sake, I'll pass it over to Linda Nunzig, the Agriculture Coordinator for the Snohomish County Conservation and Natural Resources. Take it away, Linda.
Let's see if I can get my screen sharing to work here. Everyone can see that, I assume. Thank you for having me today, and a great shout out to Darren and Christina. We're so glad that you're in Snohomish County, and awesome work that you guys are doing. So the Snohomish County Food and Farming Center is a project that has been in the works for, it's going fast on me here. Let's see if we can get it to work. for about 15 years. And it really came out of the farmers and what they needed to be economically viable. And the three things that they have repeatedly identified are processing for fresh farm products, like you heard earlier, distribution and aggregation for the farm products. Most everything in Snohomish County and further up, a lot of that goes down to King County, to the Seattle area, and getting it there means you have to leave the farm, and that's time away from farming. So having a spot where we can bring it all together and get down to Seattle at one time is a time saving and a cost savings. Being able to process those fresh fruits and vegetables, washing, slicing, dicing, IQF, all of the needed infrastructure when it comes to value-added products. And then the third component being the year-round indoor farmers market. We've had requests for that for years, to be able to bring in farm income, not just during the peak summer season, but what about the shoulder seasons? What about wintertime? Being able to still produce things like kale and have things that hold over and that can be sold in the wintertime. And then you have all your value-added products. Where can they sell those at that time? So there's a lot of requests for that as well. We've gone down many different avenues trying to find the right way to put this together. And what makes the most sense is to put it all in one spot where one thing can feed into the next. So we've worked with our agricultural communities, the farmers that would be using this, to really break it down into what are the things that are going to work best for them. And one of the main things that they're finding is that with the new regulations that are coming out about floodplain, about the Food Safety Organization Act, there's a lot of unknowns for them, that getting this up and running with these components is really important, sooner rather than later. So we looked for many years for where could this happen, finding the right developer that could make this happen, that would want to invest in this for our farmers. And we had many starts and stops over the years. And what it really came down to is we need to do it on county-owned property. And the county needs to be able to put this together as a key lease for others. So we have a large site at 128th in South Everett, just before you're headed into King County. And it's a site where WSU is currently located for their county extension offices. And that's where we are going to be building the first two components. We call it phase 1 and 2. And that's the processing, distribution, aggregation center and the commercial kitchen space. Above that, on the second floor, will be office space for WSU. We'll have some county offices there, different things related to food production. Okay, computer. Get to the next slide here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so our timeline. We've been working on it, like I said, for quite some time. Now that we have the site, we went through and we did a site feasibility. What can we do, where, and how much is it going to cost to do it? So now we know we can do it. We know where we're going to do it. The next piece is to get an owner's rep. The owner's rep will be the one that goes out and hires the contractors and oversees the project. So we put an RFP out for that. That's complete. We're in the process of seeing which firm we're going to go with. We should have that completed in the next 2 weeks. From there, we go out for an RFP on a design build firm. Using a design build firm, we can get this built faster. And we design it as we go along. So we get the first piece done and then we're working on the next piece. And that'll allow us to complete the project in less time. And I'm probably talking too fast for the interpreters. I apologize. So what about paying for this thing? It's an expensive project. Well, luckily, we have great support on this. I put in for an allocation from the state in the 2022 budget, and we got $2.5 million dedicated to it. And that's in grant form. This year in the 2022 county budget, the county allocated $4.5 million to the project. That gives us a total of $7 million. No loans, all straightforward. Let's get this thing built and let's get it done after all these years. So this will fully pay for the construction, the infrastructure to go inside, all of the equipment for phases 1 and 2. The plan for these is that these are turnkey businesses. We're county government. We have no business, nor do we want to run a business. We want to make it so that another business, that this is what they do, they're experts in this field, that they can come in, lease the facility, run their own business without any risk. We'll be able to tier the lease so that as the business prospers and makes money and brings in clients, then they don't have to pay a huge rent right at the beginning. It'll eventually go up to market rate lease, just like any other business would. So we're currently seeking businesses that want to come in and do the lease. Who wants to be there, run the business with a dedication to local farmers? That's really key. We already have some very good interest on the processing and distribution side. We have not yet started going out to look for a commercial kitchen operator. But if you know someone or if anybody's interested, please feel free to let me know. We just haven't gotten that far down the road yet. And so once again, the process of, what we're putting there. And these can change, but right now, this is still where we are. The year-round farmers market, the third component, that's going to go in a little bit later. Let's get these two built and get them occupied first, although we have had a lot of interest in getting that built as well, especially from the city of Mill Creek wants to see that happen. So if any of you have been to 128th and been to where McCollum Park and WSU are, there is an old swimming pool right next to the road. It's very, very visible. We are about a half a mile off of I-5. That swimming pool is going to come out, and that's where we will build the year-round indoor farmers market. So it'll be very visible from the road. There's tremendous parking right there. It's also adjacent to park and ride, sound transit, community transit. It's all right there. So people can get off the bus, walk over, get their produce, get whatever they want for dinner, hop in their car and head home. Also very close to that area on just the other side of I-5 is one of the county's largest food deserts. So being able to accept EBT, being able to fill orders for food banks, different meal feeding programs right from the distribution hub is very, very important for our community. So it presents a tremendous opportunity when it comes to the food banks, different feeding operations. We've got the senior meals that aren't too far from there, the backpack programs. I apologize, the computer is very slow on doing this. And it stopped screen share. Good old technology. So like I said, we're ready to start construction. The design build firm will be on board hopefully within the next 2 months. And then we start moving forward. And any questions, feel free.
There are no questions in the Q&A, though
Okay.
there are comments saying that this is so exciting, Linda. Thank you for your commitment to this project. Again, so exciting that it's amazing, and what an amazing vision you have, and cheers to you. And then there's also another question actually in the chat talking about how individuals can get in contact with you. So thank you for sharing your screen again, Linda, with
Oh, there we go. Yep.
information. So that is how you can get in touch with Linda with additional questions that you might have about the program, or if you would like to get in touch.
But we really do want to know, what do you want to see in this facility? You know, if you're a producer, if you're working with producers, What's the equipment that you want to have in here? So that we make sure that as we build it, we're putting the right things in there that are needed and they're going to get used. I did work with the University of Washington this year with one of their classes, and they did a lot of surveys for us, going out and asking producers, calling them, meeting them at farmers market. We were at the TILF conference to find out what we need to put in there. You know, what is it that you need to have that you don't currently have for processing?
Absolutely. Thank you, Linda, for your presentation and for your time and for spearheading this project. So next, I'll be passing it over to Matt Gurney, who is the Chief Innovation Officer at Fair Start. Take it away, Matt.
Thank you and good morning. I hope you can all hear me fine. And thanks to Sustainable Connections and my co-panelists for talking about some amazing projects. I'm going to be go a little deeper into Fair Start and how we've changed during the last couple of years. And some of you may not know who we are before I get to what our project is. We are a 35-year-old organization. We were founded to provide individuals living in shelters healthy, nutritious meals, often using donated food, and that's pretty important and will come up again later. We rapidly evolved to provide job training and support services to individuals with barriers to employment. You may be aware of us from our restaurant and our other cafes that we operated until the pandemic set in. And while pre-pandemic, we had already begun evaluating our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. In the reckoning in the wake of George Floyd's murder, we really solidified our commitment to learning and doing better. And that deeply influenced the direction that we're headed. So Fair Start 2.0, so the next generation of where we're going, was really brought to light in 2021 as we developed a new strategic plan with 3 areas of focus. Personal stability, so the resources individuals living in poverty and with barriers to employment need to achieve success, and that's the individuals that we serve as an organization. Economic mobility is another area. So we wanted to think about the types of jobs that will lead to long-term financial stability while we continue to provide job training and food service roles. We're also now looking to train students to work in jobs that are in demand and have clearer pathways for economic mobility. So forklift certification, commercial driver's license, food processing equipment, programming and use. And then the other key area of focus for our strategic future is food security. And we'll get to the facility and how it's going to weave those things together. But I thought I'd talk a little bit more about food security specifically as we are seeing it. At the outset of the pandemic, we quickly realized that community food security was really in jeopardy, and that we as Fair Start had the resources to do something about it. And we utilized our resources, our networks, and our capacity to produce and distribute meals, often with donated and recovered and upcycled food to a variety of community organizations. We scaled up to about 12,000 meals per day at the peak of the pandemic and our work. And as the pandemic has continued, we've had time to reflect on the community need and realign our strategies to be more consistent with what I was mentioning in those 3 key areas of focus. So we really realized that the current and post-COVID economy, the community would need to be more organized and effective at utilizing resources to be more food secure. Workforce, food, fuel, all of that needs to be more efficient and to be effective. There remains an abundance of food as a resource in the community and a tremendous amount of need. There's also a variety of amazing community organizations, local farms and others who have been working and supporting their communities And we don't have any interest in displacing. I think Anna mentioned it early in the call. We want to work in mutual benefit with community groups and community organizations and individuals to provide community resiliency. So we thought really deeply about developing relationships that are mutually beneficial and additive to achieve a food secure community. So what are we talking about doing? So I'll get to the facility part now. We are seeking to be the anchor tenant of a food hub facility in South King County, where we will be able to employ the food recovery and processing that I've been talking about. We will be able to provide hunger relief meals out of that facility and utilize it as a commissary kitchen for processing on behalf of community organizations, and doing that in collaboration with partner organizations is key. So we are still in the development stages of this food hub. We've been collaborating with the city of Kent and King County. We have been talking to a wide variety of groups and have done a lot of stakeholder input, where we have been a partner and peer of a variety of organizations to talk about this food hub. And we're excited to really dig in this year into formalizing some of the relationships similar to, I think it was Yamila who was talking about the process, or Emily talking about their process of building a community to bring a facility forward. We're in a very similar timeline and process, but this facility will receive donated product and purchased product. We will use it as a commissary kitchen to make it easier for other hunger relief organizations and food security organizations to get some processed food. We are all struggling with labor shortages and crisis, and so we are trying to find ways to make that easier for all of the meal partner organizations, and we will redistribute some of that product to the community, those community groups. And we're also going to be triaging donated food, some of it going straight back to hunger relief organizations, and some of it we can process and stabilize, either freeze or integrate into meals to extend the shelf life of that food, and get it back out to the community for food security. We've also been and we'll be using the facility to support a variety of farming activities that we currently participate in. So we can contract, particularly with BIPOC farms. As we've been doing our work, we really deeply collaborated with a variety of farms for mutual benefit, and have learned that we started by wanting to glean, and we've expanded that to really thinking about how we can do volunteer planting and transplanting, as well as supporting harvesting and then finally gleaning in the community. And some of that product goes into a mobile market project that we're working on, but some of it will come to this facility as well. Fair Start will be the anchor tenant of this. We are looking to bring in partner organizations that are working with entrepreneurs who are already working with groups like Food Innovation Network or Project Feast, and develop licensing agreements or purchasing agreements so that we can help them scale from the small scale that they're at into a more stable platform and size, and then think about going from this incubator kitchen into their own brick and mortar store. So it's one more path on the journey of an entrepreneur. So there's a lot going on in this food facility, and it's still in very much the development phase, but we're excited to be collaborating deeply with the community on it. That's what I had prepared. I don't know if questions popped up or not.
There are no questions currently in the chat, though your contact information, I believe, may be sent out at the end of the session for individuals who are interested in learning more or getting in touch with your programs.
I'll pop it in the chat too.
Perfect. Thank you.